Hazrat Halima, who the Prophet ﷺ put great emphasis on families and family and relationship and their responsibilities, and not just by words, but he did it himself. So as we know very well that he was an orphan, and there were several ladies he called mothers, not just mothers. So after his mother passed away, then he was cared for by this slave girl from Africa, Baraka, who was the name as Ayman later on. So she was the Amina's slave, young girl. So because don't forget, he died, I think, when the father died, it was Medina Sharif, and they were coming back since then. So she was with the family. So she would take care of him, and that's one lady he respected, and she lived longer than him. Later on, she was the mother of Osama ibn Zayd. So she was a Sahaba, and he pointed, he says, one of the ladies of paradise, and he asked the Sahabas to marry her. And she was an African lady, and they were shy to take his advice. So he asked his adopted son Zayd to marry him, which he did. And then they had a son called Osama. Osama was a young Sahabi then. He was one of the commanders of the Prophet. So that's Ayman's son. And then he used to respect her like a mother. She was older than him, but she lived longer than him. She lived until the time of Hazrat Umar's time, his time. So there's several stories about her. And then there's Hazrat Halima, who was the wet nurse, and up to late in life, whenever he came or visited, make a space for her and say, Ummi, come and sit here, my mother. SubhanAllah. And her sister, Haran, who is buried near Larnaca in Cyprus. That was Hazrat Halima's sister. That's why they call it Khala. They say Khala Sultan. In Turkish people, there's great respect, for the Sahaba. For the ladies, they call Sultan. So after the name, so Khala Sultan, they say that means our Khala. Well, we say the same.
The question is not
Farsi and Urdu and Punjabi, all the same. Khala Sultan. So that is one because of Halima's influence. And as far as I know, the mother of Hazrat Ali was also called Fatima, same as his wife, and that was Fatima ibn Asad. And he also took care of the Prophet when he was a young boy. So again, he used to call her Ummi, subhanAllah. He didn't forget, didn't say, oh, nothing. No, he kept the relationship. He kept the importance, Yes, that is example to follow. Yeah. And when later in life, Hazrat Aisha says there's some lady used to come, the Prophet would get up for her and give a present and send her food. And she would ask, who is that lady? He says, in Hazrat, when my wife, Hazrat Khadija, was alive, he was a friend of hers. He was a friend of hers who visited her. So now he's still visiting, so it's treating her the same, And there's a time when Hazrat Abu Bakr, who used to finance his poor relatives, because he was quite rich and he would spend money on food, etc., to his poor relatives regularly. And some of them take a hatred to him and became his enemies. And because of that, Hazrat Abu Bakr, so they must have had some arguments and so on later on. Not Hazrat Abu Bakr's fault, but they started slandering him, believing other people enemies and so on. So he stops their subsistence, he stopped their financing. The Prophet ﷺ heard that. He said, no, Abu Bakr, you restart it. So even though they are harming you, even though they are damaging you, even though they are talking against you, lying against you, you still do your payments to them. SubhanAllah. So Abu Bakr started again. You see? So they are your relatives, so you have got a responsibility Doesn't matter whether they're good. If they're good, it's a bonus. If they're bad, they're still your duty. Just do it. You do your part. For them is their responsibility, isn't it? That's quite hard, isn't it? You were the first ones to stop. Right there, your chop. Stop the standing order into your bank account, which is quite natural, I think. But he said you go against this nature. You say, okay, and they can take advantage if they want. Subhanallah. So that's amazing, isn't it? And so the responsibility. Kurba yani kareeb wale. Yeah. So Allah says various places in the Quran. You'll be amazed. It's in our culture, in all the Muslims' culture, but it is based on the Quran and what the Prophet did. He says, keep your responsibility to the Kurba. Kurba yani kareeb wale. We got it from the Quran. That means people who are related to you. Without any conditions, subhanallah, how is that? There's so much philosophy about friendship or love with conditions, without conditions. This is just practice it. Don't talk about yeah, alhamdulillah. And Imam Hassan, the son of Hazrat Ali, grandson of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is not with relatives, but he practiced so much patience against. We're talking about these people who are against you now. And there's a time when after the time of the Ali and as Imam Hussein was the Khalifa for some months, then he resigned in favor of Muawiyah, because the armies and the power, political power was in his favor, you might say so. And he didn't want bloodshed and dissension, So after that, Muawiyah's governors and so on in Medina, there's one particular called Marwan ibn Hakam, who stand at the pulpit, and Imam Hassan would be sitting there. He'd be in the Imam Mimbar. He would be nasty towards him, and he would say nasty things and slander and all that. And Imam Hassan would just sit there and listen. Would sit and listen here sometimes. So he would say things on and on and on. And then his companion said, Imam Hassan, Imam Hassan, why aren't you answering him back? He's being vicious to you, and you're just being, as we would say, taking it quietly. And he turned to me and says, there is an appointment between me and Marwan in the presence of Allah. That was his answer. It doesn't matter. Let him say what you want. I'm listening. We have got an appointment coming up soon. you know the implication of that. I say, if I answer him back, then what advantage would I have at that appointment? You need some courage, a special type of carry. It's easy to hit back, isn't it? Punch back. Okay, throw another one, and yeah, that one you can talk about and not practice easily for my ego, I'm saying. But hopefully soon. That is, as I say, a different level, isn't it? Allahu Akbar. So alhamdulillah, that is those are our role models and our responsibilities to parents is even in the Quran. Yeah. It says, I'm surprised when you read it in the Arabic, it says, do not say oof, and then it says, say the word oof, they don't say to the parents, That means, if they're upsetting you, if you answer your parents back, in big trouble. Allah's word is this. Oof means it's not a swear word, by the way. It's a harmless word. But he says, don't even say that. Just it's scary. It's not a swear word, oof, is it? No. I said even that can't. And that's in the Quran itself. Subhanallah. When you read it, it makes you laugh and cry at the same time. It's amazing, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ameen, ameen. Assalamu alaikum. Min tawfiq. Thank you.
ظهر دين المؤيد بظهور النبي أحمد ظهر دين المؤيد بظهور النبي أحمد يا حنانا بمحمد ذلك الفضل من الله الله يا حنانا 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 من مكة لما ضحى لأجلهم شاك القمر وافتخرت أنوم ضار به على كل الأنام الله يا حنانا 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 ظهر دين المؤيد بظهور النبي أحمد ظهر دين المؤيد بظهور النبي أحمد يا حنانا بمحمد ذلك الفضل من الله الله يا حنانا 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 صلوا عليه خير الأنام المصطفى بدر التمام صلوا عليه وسلموا يشفع لنا يوم الزهام الله يا حنانا يا حنانا يا حنانا يا حنانا حنانا يا حنانا يا حنانا يا حنانا يا حنانا اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه
وبارك على محمد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق وخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وحق قدره وإقدار العظيم اللهم بارك على How can we send enough salawat on him, Ya Arhamar Rahimin? We are asking for the blessings of the salawat to be upon us, on our children, on our parents, our relatives, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, our community, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Asking for the sake of his blessings, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, to be saying also thanks to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all and his Sahaba Ikram, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, for the Sheikh, all the shuyukh, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, our elders. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillah. With the niyat al-shifa, and for the niyat al-faraj al-muslimin, and for on the Hazrat Mustafa, salawat, and al-Fatiha. Ameen, ameen, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin.